a little girl, and my father, he was a huge fan of Billie Holiday, and many of you know that I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and Billie Holiday. She used to sing at the Royal Theater right there off of Pennsylvania and Dolphin Street. And a matter of fact, the sign is still up of the sign for the Royal Theater is still on. I believe that's Dolphin in Pennsylvania, Street. We have a statue of Billie Holiday. We have a statue of Billie Holiday right there on the corner. And so, family, I thought that that song was very fitting because I just got word. I just got word, and people have been talking about it all day, that the bones of Black children who were killed in the police bombing back in 1995, 1985, the Moore bombing. Remember that in Philadelphia? They said the bones of these Black children who were killed in the police bombing are being used in Ivy League anthropology course. So black bodies, and I mean, I'm telling you, I thought about Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. Today in 2021, Black people are still strange fruit, and there are no regard for Black bodies. And I'm hearing that they're putting a demonstration together to hit on down there and demand the return of these Black bones, which they should. And so let me bring up, I'm sorry, guys. Let me exit out of here. Let me exit out of here. So this is a picture you're looking at of the 1985 Move bombing. Okay. And this incident happened on May the 13th, 1885. I'm sorry, I keep saying 1985. I was actually 4 at the time. And it was an incident that occurred in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Shout out to brother Mike Africa. He was on the Truth to Power Talk last year. For those of you who've been keeping up with me, for over a year now, and I brought on the descendants of one of the, not one of these. It was a married couple, and they gave birth to brother Mike Africa and his siblings. And after the bombing, him and his siblings, they grew up in foster care. He came on the show to talk about that, and to talk about his story and what happened with his parents. I believe that his parents spent like over 20 years in prison. Either his both parents or his mom. I know that his mom just came home maybe a few years back. So big ups to brother Michael Africa and his family. But anyway, the incident, the Move bombing happened on May the 13th, 1985, when the Philadelphia Police Department bombed a residential home that was occupied by a Black group. They called it a Black militant group. But one of our organizations. The organizations was led by Dr. Africa. All right, Dr. Africa. And so, what they did was they just, allowed the fire department came and they just allowed the district or the homes to burn. And so I'm sitting here now thinking about the documentary that came out called Let the Fire Burn. And family, if you haven't seen that documentary, please check out the documentary, Let the Fire Burn. And it talks about the 1985 Move bombing. Okay. And so it says right here, the incident, and I'm pulling it up now. On Monday, May the 13th, 1985, nearly 500 police officers, along with city manager Leo Brooks, arrived in force and attempted to clear the building and execute arrest warrants. Water and electricity were shut off in order to force Move members out of the house. Commissioner Somber read a long speech addressed to the Move members that started with, "Attention, Move. This is America. You have to abide by the laws of the United States." When the Move members did not respond, the police decided to forcibly remove 13 members from the house, which consisted of 8 adults and 5 children. This was an armed standoff with the police, who lobbed tear gas canisters in the building. Now, they know children are in here, and they're throwing tear gas in the building. It says the Move members fired at them, and a gunfight with semi-automatic and automatic firearms ensued. So those members weren't playing around. It says police used more than 10,000 rounds of ammunition before Commissioner Somber ordered that compound to be bombed. from a Pennsylvania state police helicopter, Philadelphia Police Department Lieutenant Frank Powell proceeded to drop two 1-pound bombs made of FBI supplied Tovex, a dynamite substitute, targeting a fortified bunker-like cubicle on the roof of the house. The ensuing fire killed 11 people in the house, including Dr. John Africa, 5 other adults, and 5 children aged 7 to 13. The fire spread and eventually destroyed approximately 65 nearby houses. After the fire broke out, firefighters were held back. They were held back. So the firefighters came, right, to put out the fire, but they were held back, and the high-powered water cannons at their disposal, called squirts, were not turned on until 1.5 hours after the bomb was dropped. Therefore, the fires were deliberately left to burn. And that's what happened in 1985 to our brothers and sisters, in Philadelphia. Fast forward, today we find out that the bones of those children killed in the police bombing. And so I just read that they were between the ages of 7 and 13. The bones of these children are being used in Ivy League schools. So the bones weren't even returned to the family members. They're being used in Ivy League anthropology course. Let's read this for a moment. Let's read it, guys. Let's read it, family. So it says here, the bones of Black children who died in 1985 after their home was bombed in Philadelphia by the Philadelphia police in a confrontation with the Black Liberation Group, which was raising them, as being used as a case study in an online forensic anthropology course presented by an Ivy League professor. It says it has emerged that the physical remains of 1 or possibly 2 of the children who were killed in the aerial bombing of the MOVE organization in May 1985 have been guarded over the past 36 years in an anthropological collections at the University of Pennsylvania and Princeton. Do y'all hear that? Do you hear that, family? It says the institutions have held on to the heavily burnt fragments, and since 2019 have been deploying them for teaching purposes without the permission of the deceased living parents. To the astonishment and dismay of present MOVE members, some of the bones are being deployed as artifacts in an online course presented in the name of Princeton and hosted by the online study platform Coursera. Real Bones, Adventures in Forensic Anthropology focuses on lost personhood, cases where an individual cannot be identified due to the decomposed condition of their remains. It uses as its main study the events of May 1985, producing as prime evidence a set of bones belonging to a girl in her teens retrieved from the ashes of the MOVE house at 1622 Osage Avenue in Pennsylvania. Family, I am deeply disturbed. I had to go live. Look at that. There's Mike Africa, brother Mike Africa. This is the brother I said earlier who came on my show. And it says that, his mother, Consuela Dotson, Africa. It says at the time of the fire, she was serving 16-year prison sentence related to an earlier police confrontation with MOVE in 1978. And she's in the Philadelphia area. But this is the brother that I had on my show. But family, they're using our brothers and sisters, our children, the bones of our babies in courses without the consent of the parents, So here's the link to the article, because I see some people in the chat have questions, but that is the link to the article that I've read. But I'm not surprised. They don't have any respect for Black bodies at all. I mean, and look at how they go over to Kemet and how they dig up our bones. They put all of our artifacts in these fancy museums in the Louvre and the British Museum around the world. So I'm not surprised that they grab these bones and now are utilizing these bones in an anthropological course in Ivy League schools, because this is their track record, our family. This is what they've been doing for decades, for over a century now. Taking our bones of our kings, our queens, our sheroes, and our heroes, and putting them on display in museums and experimenting on them. And don't get me started with the experimentations that have taken place on Black bodies. That's why a lot of people are leery about the vaccines. Now, let's tell the truth now. And you all know that you all know that I don't speak against vaccines. I've been vaccinated, a few times. I've taken the yellow fever, the MMR. I've taken the MMR and all of those vaccines. But I do understand why people are apprehensive because of the history. But this is not the first time that they've experimented on Black bones, Black bodies, or stole artifacts, right? And somebody in the chat room put Henrietta Lacks, how they stole her cells, right? Stole her cells, and had her cells were being used in institutions around the world, unbeknownst to the family. And the families never got compensated for Henrietta Lacks's cells. Never got compensated for that. And check out the book when you all get a chance, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I know most of you have probably seen the movie that Oprah Winfrey had put out there maybe a year or two ago. But there's a book that was written by Rebecca Skloot. And she sat down and interviewed I think it was the eldest daughter of Henrietta Lacks. And she ended up publishing a book. And she does give, like, when you purchase her book, she's in direct contact with the family. And she does send them some money. But I did hear that there was a falling out between Rebecca Skloot in the family during the time that Oprah Winfrey was trying to put together the movie. Oprah Winfrey initially went to the family, but I heard she offered them like $20,000, tried to lowball them. And they said, well, we ain't going to do that. So Oprah went behind the back, curved the family, and went to Rebecca and said, well, can I get the rights to your book so we can make a movie with your book? And Rebecca said yes. And so I did hear that there was a falling out there, but it is a good book nonetheless. I did read it. It's a short read, about 300 and some odd pages, but it's the life of Henrietta Lacks. So again, Miss Ebony, sis, you're 100% right. This is their their mode of operation. This is what they do. Brother Kwame said in Read the Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. I had that book right on my shelf. I've read a couple of pages. I didn't quite go through the whole thing, Brother Kwame. But this is not anything new, what they're doing. We've seen this before. But we need to put a system in place, because talk is cheap. We could get online, make videos, and talk about it all day. We can get online and talk about it all day. But we need to put a system in place, where to prevent these things from happening. And then if these things do happen, and collectively get together and go protest, shut things down, burn the house down if we need to. Sister Anusha said, Dr. Maat, what's the name of the documentary for the Philadelphia bombing? Let the Fire Burn. Let the Fire Burn. You might can find it on YouTube for free. I watched it, I think, a while ago on Amazon Prime Video, but it's called Let the Fire Burn. Let the Fire Burn. But family, yeah. And so I was very disturbed when this was brought to my attention. It was actually my mother who came in and said, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And I said, hear about what? Because I've been working all day. And she said, it's all over the news. They're talking about it on 88.9, that the bones from the children from the 1985 bombing, their bones are being used in Ivy League schools. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I said, you gotta be kidding me. But she said that right now they're talking about putting together a demonstration and going after the bones, which they should. I think it's terrible what they did. But again, family, I'm not surprised. This is their MO. They've been doing it for years. Digging up King Tut, digging up the kings and the queens of Kemet, right? Digging them up, stealing the artifacts, putting them in the British Museum, putting them in the Louvre, okay? Stealing cells, experimenting on the wounds of Black people. I got a presentation. See, y'all getting ready. I didn't come on here to teach today. You're getting ready to have me pull up my little presentation, and this is impromptu. because I want to talk about some other stuff that they've done to Black folks. But I'm not going to go through the entire presentation, but let me bring it up. These people, I'm telling you, the people that we're dealing with, you got to know these people are wicked. You got to know the Yoruba are wicked folks. They are some wicked folks here. And did you notice that they never change? They are the same today, tomorrow. What they say today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Let me pull this up, family. Let me get this presentation up. Let me get this presentation up. Oh man, hold on, family. I'm trying to look at these slides. Oh, that's the pride of Black women. I have so many classes. Oh, Lord. I'm looking for it right now. And I actually just gave this presentation at the 100-year anniversary of the RBG flag. I can't find it, family. Mamas and sisters in the struggle, African-centered education, women in STEM, Kwanzaa, educating Black. I got so many presentations. I'm looking it up just so I can give you all some visuals. Sexual exploitation and abuse of Black people. Oh my goodness, I can't find it. Oh, the secret, here it is. Oh man, look at this. This is just to show you, family. I've been researching this stuff for years. Look at this, the secret relationship, the relationship between Black or African womb and the advancement of medical research. See, I've been doing this for a while, family. Look at this, the father of gynecology. His name was James Marion Sims. Okay. It says he's the most famous American surgeon of the 19th century. He developed the first consistently successful operation for the cure of vesical vaginal fistula. Okay. But what did he do? Look at this. He was charged with conducting experimental operations on enslaved Black women without their consent and without anesthesia between 1845 and 1849 in a small hospital behind his house in Montgomery, Alabama. Family, see, this stuff is real. They've been experimenting on Black bodies for a while, and this was his defense. He said, well, I was fortunate enough in having 3 young, healthy colored girls given to me by their owners in Alabama. I agreeing to perform no operation without the full consent of their parents. Now, these women were captives and they were enslaved. He didn't need their permission. He just did what he did. And he said, and I would never, perform any without, in my judgment, would jeopardize life and produce greater mischief on the injured organs. So, I mean, these people, like I said, and then you have Dr. Ephraim McDonald. They said he was the first person to successfully remove an ovarian tumor, right? But look at this. They said that he performed the operation on Black women. It says that 4 of the patients were enslaved Black women, one of whom died from complications. So these people, I mean, come on, man. These people have been experimenting on us for years, decades. I remember my grandmother, peace be upon her soul. This is my grandmother on the right-hand side of the screen. She used to talk about night doctors back in the day. And she was telling me how in Baltimore, Black people had to be in the house at a certain time because she said that if you weren't, they would say the night doctors would come and get you and experiment on you and everything else. And so people would say, oh, that's myths from the Black community. That's myths and all of this stuff. But, this stuff had been going on and Black folks know it. And then here you go, Miss Ebony. They did it with Henrietta Lacks. Look at this. Johns Hopkins University stole her cells, cultivated and sent them around the world to advance medical research. And these were the 3 doctors that were complicit. These were the 3 doctors that were complicit in, stealing, Henrietta Lacks's cells, cultivating them and sending them around the world. Okay. You had Dr. Howard Jones, Dr. Richard Wesley Talende, who was at that time the cervical cancer research expert. And then you had Joyce Guy. He was the head of the tissue culture research. So, look at these people. These people are considered giants and pioneers. And all they did was still. All right, so family, I'm gonna get off this live stream. I just had to come on, and I don't even want to talk about the Tuskegee syphilis study. I'm not even gonna get into that. And here's the book, Brother Kwame, that you was talking about right here, Medical Apartheid, right here. See, family, I've been on this for a while, and I'm not even going to get into the number of involuntary hysterectomies that occurred, where they were experimenting on Black women, and kept giving them hysterectomies unbeknownst to them. So, anyway, family, like I said, I have slides for days. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I just wanted to bring you all the news about the bones of Black children that were killed during the 1985 MOVE bombing in Philadelphia, how now those bones are being used in Ivy League schools. I know that the New York Times, they also published an article. I'm going to throw this in the chat so you all could check this out. Decades after police bombing, Philadelphians are sickened by the handling of the victims' bones. The MOVE members are very upset today. They're very upset. Here's Michael. Yep, Mike Africa. Yep, he was 6 when they dropped the bomb on him. And so he learned about it. And he said, and he's angry. He said anger, fury, disappointment, and sadness. That was his reaction to finding out that they're using these bones in Ivy League schools. But family, again, I'm not surprised. Let me go ahead and drop that link in the chat. I'm not surprised. We got to know who we're dealing with here. This Yorugu, I'm telling you, this Yorugu is something else. So family, I'll probably be going live whenever the mood fills me, right? If I hear something, if I know, all right. Also, family, be sure to check out the Buck Breaking film. The Buck Breaking film drops this Friday. I've been working with Brother Jabari Natur from Reality Speaks. We're thinking about having a premiere at Terra Cafe or at the Cultural Center this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We might have a premiere right here in Baltimore, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace and blessings.